Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. How have we all been? How was the last class? The last time we talked about role based access control. And today's class, we're going to be talking about identity management solutions, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So what's our objective? Number one is to understand the basic concept of identity management, to identify the importance and challenges of implementing identity management system, to identify the components of identity management system, describe the classifications of identity management system, and explore how identity management system solutions are used into the real world. All right, so let's get to it. So, what exactly is identity management? So, identity management, which is oftentimes referred to as identity access management, is a set of processes and technology that enables organizations to manage the digital identity of their users, of applications, and devices. So, identity management simply just think of it as a technology or a process that help you manage your identity. Identity what? Identity of who? Identity of your employees, identity of the devices. It's basically like you're naming, like it's like to um name the people, like to put a digital what's the word now, a digital pin on people that work for you. Like, how do you identify normal human beings? Oh, your name is Amara, so your identity is you're an Amara, you're a female, all this stuff. So this is how to identify people. Like in a normal terms, if I want to identify energy, I say, oh, his name is Energy, he's a male, he's a lawyer. Like these are the attributes I can say, okay, this is energy I'm talking about. So it's the same way with identity management. It's basically like a technology or a process that helps you manage the identity of individuals in your organizations, that help you say, okay, apart from the fact that I know that your name is Energy, I also know that you're my IT personnel. You understand? So identity management is what exactly helps you to manage the identity of individuals, that's your staffs, your employees, also manage the identity of applications, right? The softwares that you use, and then manage the identity of devices. Yes, so a particular device, who has permission to sign on to this device and stuff like that. So that's what identity management encompasses. So that is the whole this thing of identity management. So it involves the management of users' authentication, authorization, provisioning and deprovisioning of user account. User authentication, that is saying that okay, this is the right user. We are checking the username and password. We are using multiple factor authentication. We're trying to identify that okay, this is the right user, this is the support user, right? And then authorization simply means access. Okay, this is the right user, we are sure of this. But does this user have the permission to have access to some certain information or some certain resources? So that's basically what authorization is all about. Authorization is about access, is whether you have the right access, while authentication is about the right user, whether you are not you are the right user, you are the person that you are saying you are. If you say this is my username and password, you are saying that okay, this username actually belongs to me. You understand? And then the provisioning and the provisioning of user accounts. So provisioning and the provision of user accounts simply means the creation of user account, the modification of user account, the deletion of user account, everything that has to do with the user account, right? So that is what provisioning and the provisioning of user accounts entails. So identity management just means that you are managing everything that involves a user and resources and the devices in your organization. So the user's authentication, the authorization, provision and the provisioning. Even when it comes to devices, when you onboard some set of laptops, you identify these laptops with a name. You say, okay, this laptop or this system is a server, this system is just normal system, everyday use. These are the other people that have access to this system and stuff like that. So basically, it's all about managing identity. Just think about it that you want to manage identity of things in your organization. So that is what identity management entails. Identity management entails managing things, managing the identity of individuals, of application and devices within your organization. So why is it important? Why are we learning about it? Why should we do it? Why is it something that is on our list of things that we want to do in our organization to keep your organization more secure? Why are you talking about this? So number one is security. It ensures that only authorized users have access to specific resources, thereby minimizing the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. So security in the sense that it ensures that the right users, the authorized users, okay, you have been authenticated. Are you authorized to make this action? Are you authorized to have access to this information? You understand? So that is the goal of identity management, to ensure that the authenticated and authorized users have access to specific resources, which will minimize the risk of data breaches and unauthorized access. Number two is called compliance. We talked about the fact that we have regulatory bodies, right, that provide rules and regulations that organizations must follow. So identity management help organizations to meet regulatory requirements by ensuring the security and privacy of sensitive information. Exactly. So there are different laws and regulations that these regulatory bodies have said that it is mandatory for organizations to follow. For example, now the financial information of, like, for if you are a financial institution, I work with a lot of customers, work with a lot of their financial resources. You understand? So their financial information should be kept confidential, should be kept away from prying eyes. So when you when you use identity management to identify entities and identify users, right? It to prevent unauthorized individuals from having access to those sensitive information of customers, those sensitive information of your clients, of your users, indirectly helping you to meet the requirement um, of the body, of the regulatory body, right? So that way you are meeting the requirement of not allowing their financial information get into the wrong hands. You get. So basically, one thing that makes identity management important is compliance. Number three, we have efficiency. So it streamlines user provisioning and the provisioning process, reducing administrative overhead and ensuring that users have the right level of access. So with identity management solutions, right? It helps the user, the administrator, when it comes to, not the last time we talked about role-based access control. And if identity management solution helps to reduce the stress on the administrator aspect, you get. So it helps to provide a good way, or a good way of managing users, a good way of creation, provisioning and the deprovisioning of users. All right, so the next point is user experience. So identity management can improve user experience by enabling features like single sign-on, which reduces the need for user to remember multiple passwords. So user experience in the sense that with identity management, you can enable things like single sign-on. We talked about single sign-on in the last two classes, yes, where we talked about how with one credential you can be able to access different platforms. Yeah. So with identity management, you can enable such feature. When you enable such feature, it gives like more ease to the user. The user doesn't have to always remember multiple usernames and multiple passwords. Then cost savings. By automating user account management and access control, identity management can help reduce operation costs and improve resource utilization. So it helps with cost savings as well. So when you automate the user account management and access control process, right, it helps you reduce operational cost. And also in terms of like in the long run, it helps reduce improves the security of the organization, which in turn reduce the cost of having to sort out all these cyber attacks and problems that occur. You get. So the next point is risk mitigation. Effective identity management reduces the risk of insider threats and the misuse of privileges by ensuring that users only have access to what is necessary for their role. Exactly. So it reduces the risks. So the risks of insider threats, risks of somebody having access to what they don't necessarily need is reduced, which in turn helps to reduce cost that comes from solving cyber incidents. You get. So these are the reasons why identity management management is important. This is why we need to learn about it. Identity management solutions help gives the admin the ability to do all these things in an easier and faster way. So now what are the components of identity management systems? So what are the things that you can say and look at and say, okay, these are parts of the identity, these are things that you can look at and say, okay, this is an identity management system. So number one, we have authentication services. So these services verify the identity of users by during the login process. So what is authentication services? The goal of this is to verify the identity of the user. When we talked about this, that authentication has to do with your identity. Like you are saying that you are who you are. Like if you say this is my username and password, we want to confirm that this is actually you and you are not a hacker. You understand that is camouflaging as this particular user. So the authentication method includes passwords. So we have username and password. Then we have the biometrics. That is when you are using something like your fingerprint. We are using something like your iris. You're looking something like your face recognition and stuff like that. And then we have multiple factor authentication, which exactly is having more than one form of authentication. Remember in the last class or the last two classes, we talked about authentication, right? Talked about different kinds of authentication. How we have the traditional way, which is username and password. We have the biometrics. And then we talked about multiple factor authentication in the sense that you must have more than one means of verifying a user. You understand? So multi-factor authentication. Then we have things like single sign-on, which improves user experience, which helps you want to sign on using maybe your Google account. You can be able to sign in to other services without having to use username and password every time. Then the next point is authorization services. So authorization services determine what actions users are allowed to perform after authentication. So authorization means that okay, now that you verified, okay, I say my name is Energy and I say my password is at Energy 70A342. You understand? And I say, okay, this they've authenticated me now. They said this is correct. I've put my thumbprint and my thumbprint is correct. So the next point of action is authorization. So what are the actions that I am allowed to take? So once I get into the system, once I get into the organization's system, what actions am I allowed to take? Do I have access to these documents? Can I edit these documents? Can I do this? Can I do that? So things like access control policies, role-based access control, and attribute-based access control are often used for authorization services. So role-based access control, we talked about in the last class, where you have access based on your role and your role has permissions based on your job description. So when you say, okay, I am an IT support person, I work on devices. So your permissions are to allow you edit and configure devices. You as an IT personnel, you will not have access to the HR resources. You understand? So this is authorization. Authorization simply means that okay, you are authenticated, you are the right person. You've said this is who you are, you've confirmed that this is who you are. Now, what can you access? Now, what can you do in this environment? So that is what authorization means, or the authorization services entail. You get. So the next point of action is user provisioning and deprovisioning. This component manage the creation and modification, suspension, deletion of user accounts, as well as the assignment and removal of access rights. So user provision and deprovisioning simply means everything that has to do with the user. You understand? So once a staff or someone first come into the organization, the first thing is okay, you create an account for this person, you enable this account, you assign certain roles and permissions to the person. So okay, you are in the IT team, you have the IT team role, you are IT support or you are doing customer rep as well, you have this role, you assign certain rights and privileges to the particular account. Or those are the things that happens under user provision and provisioning. Then, for example, if let's say something happened, this account might be compromised, you can suspend the account put it on hold for a while, disable the account for a while doing investigation on this account. And if the individual, maybe it has reached for you to delete the account, we delete the user account. So everything that has to do with user account, everything that has to do with the user account, the creation of the account, the modification, the assigning it rights, the assigning it privileges, the assigning it roles, everything that has to do with it, the suspension, the deletion, disabling, enabling, everything that has to do with the user account is under the user provisioning and deprovisioning, which is a core component of identity management system. So um the next component we have is directory services. Directory services like Microsoft Active Directory, LDAP, LDAP, which is lightweight directory access protocol, store and manage user identity information, including profiles, roles, and access permissions. So the directory store and manages the user identity information. Then we have single sign-on. So single sign-on is another core component of identity management system, right? And this component entails the user allows user to log in once and gain access to multiple system and application without repeated authentication. So this is what single sign-on is. You can sign in with your Google account and sign in with other services as well, other systems as well, other applications as well, without having to do username and password every single time. You understand? So that is what single sign-on entails. Another component is user self-service and password management. So this component empowers user to manage their account, reset password, request access permission, and reduce the burden on the IT administrator. So with user self-service and password management, it enables users to manage their own account, right? So let's say, for example, you forgot your password. You can able to do forgot password. You can able to reset your password. You can also request for access permissions. Let's say you need to do something, you go there, you realize that you don't have the permission for this thing. You can request for permission. This in turn helps to reduce the burden of the IT administrators, because the IT administrator is managing so many things, is managing so many components, is managing a lot of things. So with using user self-service and password management, it helps to ease the burden um administrator, you understand? But also the administrator should also train the users to ensure that they know the right ways of using this thing, so that at the end of the day it doesn't come and bite them at the back. You understand? So the next thing is identity management tools. So various softwares and tools often provided by identity access management vendors, that's IAM, facilitates the implementation and management of IAM processes and components. So IAM is identity access management. It's the same thing. All of them are in the same bracket. So if you hear me interchangeably saying identity management solutions, identity management systems, identity and access management, they are all the same thing, but just different ways of pronouncing or different ways of saying it. You understand? So basically, the identity management tools are what administrators make use of to manage identity. So different vendors provide different identity management tools. So you as an administrator, you have to now decide on, okay, these are the different tools that are available for me to do identity management tasks. So which one should I go for? Which one can the organization afford? Which one can the organization go for based on what we want to achieve, based on our goals? You understand? So these are the important components of identity management system. We have the authentication service. So this is to verify that the user is who they say they are. Authorization is to check the permissions. Okay, so do you have access to this? Or you are the right user, but do you have access to this particular resource? Then we have user provisioning and deprovisioning. So everything that has to do with the user management, the creation, deletion, suspension, modification, giving the user rights and giving the user permissions. So this is what the user provisioning and deprovisioning entails. And the next one is active the directory services, which manages the user identity. Then we have the single sign-on, enables the user to sign sign into multiple applications without having to repeat the authentication process. Then we have the user self-service and password modification, which enables users to manage their own account. So they can request to reset password, they can request for permissions, access permission. This in turn helps to reduce the burden of the IT personnel. And then the last one is identity management tools. These are the tools that are provided by identity management vendors. You understand? As we go later on in the slide, I'm going to like show some identity management vendors, management tools that are available. You get. So classification of identity management system. So if we want to classify them now, so identity management systems can be classified into different types based on number one, their deployment model, their functionality, and their target audience. So it's classified based on different types. So number one, it can be on their deployment model. How are they deployed? Their functionality, what are they used for? And their target audience, who wants to use it? Who are the people that they have built this identity management system for? All right, so let's go to deployment model. So on-premise identity management system. When they say something is on-premise, more of like it's on ground. Yes, it's on ground. That just is like that. So on-premise IMS solutions are installed and operated on the organization's own infrastructure, typically within the organization data center. So basically, it means that the organization physically has like the service, has the server, has everything, and they are managing it by themselves. So it's operated on the organization's own infrastructure. That's organization's own server. You get, typically within the organization data center. So what are the characteristics of on-premise IMS? So number one is complete control. So the organization has full control over the hardware and software and security of the IMS. So basically, full control. The organization can configure the hardware however they like. They can put the number of RAMs they want, put the number of the size of the hard disk that they want. So any number of all the hardware configurations, they have full control over it. The software configurations, what the versions they want to use, they have full control over it. And then the security. So they are the ones that are going to handle the security to ensure that okay, this IMS solutions that we are using, right? How secure is it? So it's the organization that is doing all of that. You get. So the next one is customization. On-premise solutions can be highly customized to meet specific security and compliance requirements. So when you are doing customization, everything falls in the hands. Just know that when you say on-premise, everything falls in the hands of the organization. So the organization can decide, okay, these are the hardware solutions that we want. These are the specific needs that we want this IMS to meet. You understand? These are the specific security needs, these are specific compliance needs that we want this IMS to have. You understand? Then integration. So the fact that everything is on premise, which means that the organization can integrate the IMS tightly with the other on premise systems like applications, like their directory. So they don't have to start thinking of implementation, how can we implement all this kind of stuff like that, because basically it's on their own environment, it's on premises where they are. So other it will be easier for the implementation to work. Understand? Then the next one is upfront cost. So at the beginning stage, if any organization wants to have their own identity management system, it's going to cost higher at the beginning stage because the organization is going to be responsible for a lot of things. They're going to be responsible for the hardware. They're going to be responsible to buy all the hardware, the software license. You need to pay for software license, ongoing support. Like the initial cost or the starting cost is going to be borne heavily by the organization and it's of a higher cost. So the next point, the next deployment model is cloud-based implementation management solution. So cloud-based IMS solutions are hosted and managed by third-party cloud service providers. Organization access and use their solution over the internet. So cloud-based simply means that you are not the one creating the server. You're not the one buying the server, building the server, buying the hardware, the hard drive, the RAM, everything, the processor. You're not the one buying all those things. No, what you are doing is that there's another company that has bought a lot, and what they are doing is that they are now renting it out, or they are doing some form of service. So you as the organization, you will now pay for their service. So you can access your IMS platform over the internet, you understand? So what are the characteristics of this form of deployment method? What are the characteristics of this form of deployment method? Number one, scalability. You understand? So cloud-based solutions can easily scale to accommodate growing user bases and changes requirements. So it's scalable. You understand? So you can start with, if your organization is a small organization, you can start with little. You can buy a certain portion, and then as your organization keep on increasing, you can now increase and pay for more of these services. Most of these cloud services are pay as you use kind of services. So based on the number of resources that you are making use of is how they will charge you. You understand? Number two is accessibility. Users can access the IMS from anywhere and internet connection, prompting flexibility and remote work. So it enables facilitates remote work, you understand? Because since it's on cloud, users can have access to it at anywhere they are at any time, as long as there's internet and the cloud service provider is active and up. Then the next one is lower upfront cost. So organizations can reduce capital expenses and they don't need to invest in hardware or data centers. Basically, so since you are not the one bearing the burden of buying the hardware, buying the software licenses and stuff like that, you can start small. You understand? As an organization, if your organization doesn't use a lot, you can start small, thereby reducing the cost of expense. And as your organization grows, you can now keep on increasing the expense, increasing the amount that you are using and the number of and the expense that you have. You get, so that's why upfront the cost is smaller, you understand. And vendor responsibility. So basically the cloud service provider is responsible for infrastructure management, and it's also somewhat responsible for the security. Yes, security this thing is shared by both parties, of course, but the vendor, the cloud provider, has a higher responsibility concerning security and concerning management and maintenance. You get. So let's go to the next one. The next deployment model that we have. The next deployment model that we have is hybrid identity management system. Hybrid. So hybrid IMS solutions combines both on-premise and cloud-based elements, allowing organizations to leverage on the benefits of both deployment model. So basically, this is where an organization have an on-premise infrastructure and also have the cloud-based IMS solution. So basically, as an organization, okay, you have like on premise, you have your server, you have your server, you are able to create on premise, you have the hardware, you have the software license, everything. You're able to create your on premise IMS solutions. And then there is also a cloud-based IMS solution for you, like your Azure, you understand, and your AWS and stuff like that. So you have that one as well. So you are combining the two of them in your environment because you want to reap the benefits of both parties. So what are the benefits? Number one, we have flexibility. Organizations can choose to keep sensitive and critical systems on premise while utilizing cloud-based features for scalability and convenience. You understand? So the core systems, the sensitive systems of an organization can be stored on premise. So they have their in-house servers where they keep their sensitive and critical systems, right? And then while the one that is online, the cloud-based one, is where they make use of the scalability and convenience feature. So it's for less sensitive information, less sensitive data, you understand. Then integration. They facilitate integration between on-premise and cloud environments, allowing hybrid models to work cohesively. And security and compliance. Sensitive data can be kept on premise to maintain higher level of security, of control and compliance, while less sensitive functions can be managed on the cloud. Yeah, I talked about this. So the sensitive information, the core system can be kept on premise, right? Which gives you higher level of control, which give you higher level of compliance, where you can make some certain policies and ensure that it is being upheld. And then your less sensitive functions are now managed by the cloud provider, the cloud service provider. The disaster recovery. Hybrid solution can provide disaster recovery option by replicating data and functions to the cloud for redundancy. So basically, with hybrid systems, with hybrid identity management system, you can have recovery. You understand? So what you have on prem, you can put what you have on premise rather. What you have on premise, usually people call it on prem. What you have on prem, right? We can be replicated to be stored on the cloud. That way, it can help for redundancy in case something happens to the on prem. You understand? You still have the cloud to fall back on. You get. So based on functionality, now no be said that um identity management system can be classified based on deployment, based on functionality, and based on target audience. Now, based on functionality, we have the core IMS and the extended IMS. So the core IMS provides basic features needed for identity management. So we are going for the basic features, things like user provisioning, authentication, authorization, access control. So those are the basic. So when you are doing in identity management system, what are the basic? What are the core of the system? Things like authentication, authorization, user provisioning and deprovisioning, access control. So those are the main things, right? Those are the main things that are needed for an identity management system to be an identity management system. So that is functionality, like the core, the main things, you understand. While the next point is extended identity management system. So extended has to do with adding additional features. You understand? Adding features like single sign-on, multiple factor authentication, risk-based access control, identity governance and administrations. Most right now, currently speaking, most of the IMS solutions we have today have this extended IMS because right now everything is intertwined. You understand? You mix everything together, like everything. You need to have single sign-on sometimes. You also need to have multiple factor authentication cannot be compromised. It is very mandatory and very important. You understand? So at the end of the day, like most of the IMS vendors that we have so far are mostly the extended IMS. Then the next one is based on your target audience. So based on the target audience, um we have enterprise identity management system. So enterprise are designed for large and medium-sized organization with complex identity management needs. So they are designed enterprise. When you say enterprise, it's talking about organizations, large organizations. You understand? It's talking about these are for people that have complex identity management needs. You understand? Complex identity management needs. Things that okay, you have like thousands of employees, you have different solutions, different what do you call it, different devices available. I need to manage all these identities, you understand? So these are for enterprise organization, for large scaled organization, for medium sized organization, you understand? So even sometimes for government, so governmental organizations, you get. So the next one we have is small business IMS. So small business IMS are for smaller organizations with simpler identity management needs. So these are for startups, people that are not plenty, you have less than 100 employees, you have like those kind of people are the people that you go and that go for the small business IMS. You understand? And the last one we have is the customer management system. Understand? So this is designed for individuals to manage their identity their digital identity across different online services. But this one is channeled to individuals, it's channeled to customers, channeled to everyday users. You understand? So you have, if they have if they have identities across different social services, different online services, they have their bank services, they have so many different services. So the customer identity management system is designed for individuals, is designed for customers. You understand? So now let's look at this diagram. So deployment model, we have on-prem. So on-premise, that is physically at the venue. Then enterprise is like large organization. So large organizations make use of this. So some of the IMS solutions that we have. So these are the identity management solutions, right, that we have currently that are under enterprise and are on-prem. Excuse me. We have IBM security access management. We have the Oracle Identity and Access Management, and we have the RSA Secure ID. So you can just Google these solutions. They are online, right? You can just Google these solutions, right? You just see a bit of them. Since they are enterprise, they require some sort of payment. You understand? And because they're enterprise, payment will be a lot more they get. So we have cloud-based. So cloud-based simply means that it's not physically in the customer's environment, it's not physically on the organization environment, it is based on the cloud. There's a cloud service provider, you understand? And this is the enterprise. So enterprise, we have things like Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory, you can actually have a free or student trial. I'm going to show us later on how to do that. So we have Google Cloud Identity and Access Management, we have Okta, we have One Login, we have Ping Identity. These are different identity management these are different identity management solutions that are there. Then we have hybrid. We have the enterprise. It's an enterprise. Target audience is enterprise. And we have SailPoint Identity IQ. We have the cloud-based for small business. We have Jump Cloud, and we have Auth0. And then we have cloud-based for customer. We have things like LastPass. You know, we talked about password managers. Password managers are also identity management solutions as well, because it helps you manage your identity, helps manage your identity across different online services. We have things like LastPass, OnePassword, Dashlane. So the next point is, how do you choose an identity management solution? So the best type of identity management solution for your organization will depend on the specific need and requirement. You understand? We talked about different needs and requirement. Number one, a deployment model. Do you guys want on premises? Do you guys want cloud based? Do you guys want hybrid? You understand? Number two is functionality. Okay, what are you using it for? Do you want to have single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, risk-based access control? Is that what you need? You understand? Number three is your target audience. Is the IMS designed for enterprise, small organization, small business or customer use? Okay, what are you using this thing for? Okay, we want it to be for our company, the whole organization. You know that you need to go for an enterprise IMS. Then budget, how much can you afford to spend on an IMS? So you have to think about all these things. So these are criteria I need to think about. And also you have to think about the security features. So when you want to pick an IMS platform for your organization, you need to read far and wide. You need to read, you need to study, you need to read the features of, look at the list of all these different IMS platforms. So you need to study them. What are the features that are available? Okay, can I have this feature here? Can I have this feature there? Now you also need to look at the organization's cost. So sometimes so smaller organizations might not have the money to like go for things like Azure, Active Directory, Google Cloud, and the rest. You can go for things like Jump Cloud. You understand? So it depends on the organization, the finances, everything all together. So you have to consider all these things when you are trying to pick an ISMS platform, sorry, an IMS platform, you get. So you have to consider all these things. You have to check about the security, how secure is their platform? Have you had any security breach so far? Stuff like that. So this requires a lot of reading, and then you have to, like, especially if you're an administrator, you will read far and wide. You also have to defend your points to the board of directors and to the management. You understand? So let them know that, okay, this is what we want. This is what will work for us. You understand? So this is what it entails when it comes to choosing an IMS platform. So challenges of implementing and managing IMS solutions. Implementing and managing identity management solutions can be complex and challenging task, especially as organizations face evolving cyber threats, regulatory requirements, and increasing diverse user bases. So here are some of the challenges. Number one, we have complexity of integration. So integrating an IMS with existing system, application, and directories can be complex and time consuming. So basically, if you haven't started, this is why every organization, once they start their organization stuff, they should start with one. They should pick one IMS solution and then start with it, because it is easier to, even like, at least you have one than to not have at all and then try to be implementing. Understand? The next thing is user onboarding and offboarding. Managing the user life cycle, including onboarding, role changes, offboarding, requires efficient processes to ensure that users remain appropriate and secure. User access remain appropriate and secure. These are one of the challenges when it comes to, remember that IMS has to do with user provisioning and deprovisioning, everything that has to do with a user. So you have to ensure that all the processes, all the creation, deletion, addition, subtraction, everything that you want to do about the user, is that you have to make sure that it is still secured, that the user access is appropriate and it is secured. And the next one is diverse user base. You understand now that organizations nowadays make use of different user base. They are the external contractors, the freelancers, the employees, the partners, the customers. So based on this different user base, it can be difficult to manage the identity of these different users across different resources that are available. You get, so these are one of the challenges when it comes to implementing and managing the IMS solutions. Then the next point is security risks. IMX needs to protect against security risks such as unauthorized access, identity theft, and insider threats. So when choosing your IMS platform or when choosing your IMS solution, you have to ensure that the IMS solution has the ability to protect the organization from security risks like unauthorized access, identity theft, and insider threats. So these are one of the criteria and one of the challenges when it comes to implementing and managing IMS solution. Next one is budget and resource constraint. You understand? So sometimes or most times these IMS solutions can be costly. You understand? If you are doing on-prem, you have to think about resources like hardware, software, licenses and stuff like that. Then if you are doing um cloud-based, sometimes the cost might be a lot. You understand? So sometimes we can have budget and resource restraints. You understand? Then the next one is user experience. So because we are trying to balance with security and the user convenience, because if the user keeps on, if the authorization steps are excessive, they are too much, it can lead to frustration when you just give up and ignore. Have you ever happened to you where you're trying to sign in for something and they're asking for this, asking for that, asking for this, asking for that? You just give up. You understand? You just give up, like, I beg, let me not bother myself. You understand? So these are the challenges. So when you are implementing an IMS solution, you're also thinking about the fact that, okay, as much as you want the user to be secured, you also want the user to have a good experience. Let it not be too cumbersome. Let it not reduce the work efficiency. It's not because you implemented an IMS solution and the efficiency dropped from 80% to a 50%. The management will come and be asking you why. You understand? The management will be asking you questions. You get, so that is one of those are the challenges. There are challenges when it comes to implementing and managing the IMS solutions. You get, so implementing IMS solution is very important, but there are also some things that you also have to consider and ensure and like do to ensure that, okay, you are doing the right thing when it comes to managing and implementing IMS solutions. The example of how IMS solutions are used in real life, in the real world rather. So A large financial institution use IMS solution to manage the identity of its employees and the customers. So the IMS solution allows institution to control access to sensitive financial data and to comply with industry regulation. So for a large financial institution, it helps them manage the identity of the employees. So from the administrator to the managers to the staff representative and also their clients, right? The customers, the partners and everything. So IMS solution help like large organization to manage these things. And as a small healthcare practice, and IMS solution can help them manage the identity of the patients and of the staff. You understand? So it helps to protect the staff's, the patients' privacy. You understand that only authorized staffs can have access to some setting like the customer or the patient's medical record. You understand? So the next point is like the next real life use is a family using an IMS solution to manage digital identity of their children. So each child has an account and the parents can control the access of the children to on their like online services and online activities, can control their access to online services. It can also monitor these their online activities. Then the next point is a group of friends using IMS solution to manage digital identity of their shared account. So the IMS solution allows the friends to share access to accounts such as Netflix and Spotify without having to share their password. You know how it is when you do joint pay, family of six pay for Netflix, family of 12 pay for Spotify, stuff like that. So the goal of using IMS platform is to just ensure that okay, you can manage the identity of this shared account and you're not releasing your username and password to anybody. All right, so these are the discussions. How do you choose the right IMS solution for your organization needs? What are the criteria? What are the things that you should check on? What are the things like your deployment needs? Like how do you want your IMS to be deployed? You understand? What are the core functions? What are the functionalities that you want your IMS solutions? And what your target audience? Okay, what is the financial budget? You understand? So what exactly do you think are the things that how do you choose, yeah, exactly, how do you choose the right AMS solution for your organization? What are the things that you need to consider? What are the things that you need to take note of? You understand? So number two is how can AMS solution be used to improve security and compliance? How do you think that using IMS can help you improve security and compliance? And what are the key features and capacity of a comprehensive IMS solution? So if you have any questions, please drop your questions, and then discuss the role of IMS in security and compliance. Now, I'm going to record a video later on how to use an IMS solution. So the IMS solution I'm going to be looking at is Azure. It's going to be the Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory, that's this one. So with Azure Active Directory, you can have a student account, right? And the student account, you can be able to like test Azure Active Directory. So I'm trying to set up everything. And once I'm done setting it up, I'm going to like record a video, show you how to get your own student account and basically even possibly drop some YouTube videos. I will just show you how to get your student account, and then you can try and practice this role-based access control. You can try and practice it. Okay, how do I access this? How do I access that? So that's basically it for the class. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the class. I hope this class was impactful. I hope it was good. Do have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye.